Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My voice is a little bit croaky or phlegmy at the moment. I've been sick for like a week and this is my only real opportunity to film today, so I think I'm just going to power through. So thanks for joining me. Today is all about concealers and I'm going to start with the swatches. So the first swatch I've got here on my arm is the MAC Studio Finish Concealer in W10. Then the next one along is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer, and that is in Chantilly. Then the next one, which is clearly the wrong colour for me, is the Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer in 00. Then I have got the Rimmel Multitasker Concealer. This is in shade 3, I believe. And then I've got the House Labs Concealer, which is in 04. Okay. So I'll just bring those a little bit closer. So you've got MAC, you've got NARS, you've got Maybelline, you have got Rimmel, and you have got House Labs. So all of these concealers are very different. Some of the concealers are liquid concealers, some of them are pot concealers, and the purposes for those concealers and how I use them is very, very different. Despite the Maybelline looking quite orangey yellow, I can actually sometimes make this work, but I don't appear to have a perfect shade match in that range. So let's start with the matte concealer first. So I've got this one in this little palette here. This is called the Studio Fix Conceal and Correct palette, and it contains 6 different items. I only really want to talk about the one that I use the most, which is this one, which is W10. So this is designed for people with rosier skin tones, and it is also the lightest shade. So this has been around for a really, really long time. I've been buying this pot concealer in the traditional little round pot for 10-15 years, I would say. It's an excellent blemish concealer. You can use it under your eyes, however you would need to moisturize and prep really, really well. It's really good for carving out your eyebrows. I like it around my nose on days like today when I've got a terrible cold, because it just hides any redness and it stays put. It's got Studio Fix in the name and it's really, really good. It sticks around. So that is the first one. A newer addition to my collection, I got this within the last 6 months, is the NARS Chantilly. This is a soft matte concealer, so it's got a much more modern formulation than the MAC concealer. It's the only other pot concealer that I've got in this lineup. Initially, when I went to the NARS counter and I said that I wanted to buy this for under my eyes, I was steered away from it, not once but twice. However, on the recommendation of a friend, I did purchase it for under my eyes, and I actually think it's fantastic. Even with my dry skin, it's a beautiful shade, and if you have a look here, it's one of the closest to my skin tone. Absolutely fantastic, and a good range of shades as well. I don't have an exact match in a lot of concealers, but this one really works well. I'm going to swatch both of those on my face as well. So I'm going to start with MAC. I'm going to do that on this side of my face, whereas the liquid concealers I'll put on the other side. So there's the MAC. And then I'm going to do NARS Chantilly just next to it. So as you can see, this is a bit more neutral, but they are a similar depth. Both really easy to use, though this is a smidge more moisturizing and a smidge more blendable. I think it's just a more modern formulation, to be honest. Okay, the next one I've got, which is definitely the wrong shade, is the Maybelline Instant Anti-Age Eraser Multi-Use Concealer. Okay, so it's not Age Rewind anymore. Sorry about that. So this one is a really nice concealer. This would be a concealer that I would use for my under eyes. As it's not a great match for me, I've actually been using it as a base for eyeshadow, and it does that pretty well. Not only is this too dark, but it's also just way too like yellowy orange for me. So the swatch isn't going to look great, but just so you can have a little look at the texture of the concealer, I've removed the sponge because I hate it. I think a lot of people feel that way. I'm just going to put a little bit on my hand and then dot it onto my face. So maybe I'll fit them all here actually. So there's the Maybelline. Doesn't look as terrible, I think, initially on my face as it does on my hand, but I guess things do dry down. It is a really nice consistency. It's a very affordable drugstore or a high street concealer, so I would definitely recommend that one if you can find a shade match. It does have lighter shades. It's not just me that I can't find a shade, but the one lighter than this just looks way too pink and way too light, so maybe I'm just in between, or they didn't have the right shade for me that day. The shades online as well, like it's kind of difficult to match up because there's American shades and then there's UK shades, etc. And it's just hard to tell, so definitely get a match in store. Then my next sort of high street or drugstore concealer is one I'm really excited about. It's the newest one I've got. It's the Rimmel Multitasker Concealer. So I'll swatch that next. This is my new favorite. It's looking super, super light there, possibly because it's contrasting with the Maybelline, but also it does blend in really nicely under my eyes. And that's what I mainly use it for. The second I got this one, I thought it was comparable to the House Labs. In fact, the main difference is that it's a little bit more liquidy and it's actually a little bit easier to blend than the House Labs. More comes out on the applicator. Now that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you like to use your products. I'm just going to put the House Labs right next to it. I do have a review of this concealer. It is a really excellent one. But if this is not in your budget, Rimmel would be a great alternative. So there are the 5 concealers. Again, the last 3 are liquid concealers and these first 2 are pot concealers. All excellent choices. I can highly recommend them. If you have drier skin, then maybe the liquids will be better for you. However, even with my dry skin, extra dry it is now while I'm sick, I can use all of these. So I think it might be interesting to do a comparison between the House Labs and the Rimmel on my eyes. So I'm just going to start with the House Labs first, and I'm going to put this on this eye. So the 3 areas I tend to conceal under my eyes are the very inner corner here to help widen the bridge of my nose and get rid of the blue tones. This sweep under here, which is quite purple, and then just the outer corner to lift and brighten my eye. So I'm just going to tap that in with my ring finger. I don't use a brush. I'll just come in a little closer so you can see. Again, I have demoed this before, but I've never done a comparison with it, so this will be interesting. So that's a small amount of product. It is buildable, as you will be able to see from my other video. It's looking really, really nice. It's hydrating. It doesn't look matte, not cakey. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, but with the Rimmel. The doe foot applicator on this is huge, so you do have to be careful. A lot comes out on this. So I'm going to try really hard not to put too much on so that it's a similar amount of product to compare. And again, I've just gone for those same 3 areas. This looks a lot lighter when I'm applying it. However, I do think they dry down similarly, especially when set with translucent powder. And again, I'll come in a little closer so you can see. I was actually totally shocked when I bought this Rimmel concealer that I was the 3rd shade. Like, when does that ever happen? So the first shade was just way, way, way too light for me. I'm not really sure who that's going to be for, but there must be somebody. So I'm glad their shade is out there. And then the second shade was just way too yellow for me. So this was the first one with sort of a rosy undertone. So I would say this one's possibly a little bit more brightening, although even though I tried really hard not to put on too much or more product on this side, I think I may have done it accidentally. It is just a lighter shade as well, a little bit, not drastically. So here we've got House Labs on this side and Rimmel on this side. I'm going to add a tiny bit more House Labs over here just so I feel like it's fair, because we do want to compare the same amount. I think it's mainly this purple bit that's showing through. This is the darker of my two eyes as well. I'm also exhausted from coughing and spluttering and sneezing all night. And there you have it. House Labs. Rimmel. If House Labs is not in your budget, you are not missing out anything by purchasing the Rimmel. I think this looks amazing. I'm just going to set both eyes with translucent powder. Should just give me a moment. So this is what both eyes look like when they are set. I'm really impressed with both of them. Is it weird that I'm starting to prefer the Rimmel though? I don't know. I guess it depends if you like a properly bright under eye. I am kind of running out of time now and I don't want to make this a mega long video, but I really hope this has been helpful for you. I've still got the swatches. The Maybelline is still looking crazy, but it is, I promise you, a really good formula. I hope this comparison has been useful as well. Tell me, which one do you prefer? Are you Team House Labs or are you Team Rimmel? Stay tuned for my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!